All right, hello you guys. We are in Brasilia. It is the last stop in this 1.5 month trip through Brazil. And let's get right into it. Brazil, a gay travel destination. Absolutely. Probably the #1 gay travel destination in South America, in my opinion. Before we go any further in this video, those of you guys who have already watched other gay travel guide videos of mine in the past, you know that the way I do it these days is part 1 is where I just talk about gay travel related topics. Part 2 is where I talk about things that I enjoyed or don't enjoy or recommend or don't recommend related to travel in general, so nothing about that is gay related per se. And the third part is where I talk about if I have any kind of interesting gay experiences, which I don't have for Brazil. And also this video is going to be slightly different in that my gay travel guide reviews are generally always just about specific cities. Usually I'm kind of like, I'm reviewing this city, I'm not reviewing the country in general or whatever. Here I'm going to be talking more general because I traveled a lot in Brazil. I went to a lot of places. Of course Rio, of course Sao Paulo, but also like Manaus, Brasilia, and other locations. Yeah, so anyway, let's get into part 1. As I already said, Brazil, gay travel destination, absolutely. Especially having traveled around from north to south, I personally would say the gayest place in Brazil is Rio de Janeiro. Some people might argue it's Sao Paulo. The thing is, like, Sao Paulo, it has like twice the size of a population. So of course, more people, more gay people, right? But Rio is very gay. Like, it has just like the gayest vibe, and there's just gay clubs on every corner, gay cafes. People, like, the entirety of the Copacabana and Ipanema beaches. There's just like gay flags everywhere. You see gay couples all over the place, especially in the bigger cities. Gay people in Brazil feel very comfortable holding hand and showing like affection to some degree. Doesn't seem to bother anyone. Nobody seems to be caught up in it. So I would definitely, for me, I would say Rio is probably the gayest in a very gay-friendly country. Having said that, you know, Brazil does have equality of marriage and all these things for gay people. So if you come here and you find yourself falling in love with a Brazilian man, then, you know, you can get married. After Rio, I would then, of course, say Sao Paulo would probably be the second gayest city in Brazil. Really, any city that I would say that has more than a population of like 100,000, you're gonna find a gay club, you're gonna find a cafe, you're gonna find a sauna, there's gonna be gay pride. It's very, you really have to, I feel like, really go deep into the countryside in Brazil to find people in areas where they're still very conservative about gay marriage and gay couples. Overall, I think it's a country that is just really not hung up on this anymore. Like I said, I haven't met anybody or interacted with anybody who has said anything negative about gay people, looked like they were bothered by gay people walking around and holding hands, and, you know, and as I said, you're gonna have access to everything. There's gonna be clubs, there's gonna be bars, there's gonna be cafes, there's gonna be, you know, of course, the typical Tinder, Grindr, all of that is available. And of course, like the beaches, like I said, in Rio, just, I don't know actually if there's a specific part of the Copacabana that is specific for gay people, because you just see them everywhere. I mean, like, just, and like I said, there's just like tons of gay flags hanging everywhere in Copacabana and Ipanema Beach. And I would even go so far as to say the places that I went that are relatively smaller, I still just saw gay people everywhere. I went to Isla Grande, and I mean, it's not that far away from like Rio or something, but still, like, it was just like there was gay couples all over the place. I went to Foz de Iguazu, there was gay people everywhere. I went to the Amazon, there was gay people everywhere. I actually have to say, I'm wondering if Brazil isn't going to see a population decline, because I'm at the point where I'm like, there, at least 40% of the men in Brazil have to be gay. I mean, there's just gay people everywhere. And the men who aren't gay, they look really gay, and they don't seem to be bothered if gay men are checking them out or even flirting with them. Like, it just overall, I would say, is a very, very gay-friendly travel destination for this. You know, and Brazil also, it's a very warm country. There's access to water and beaches all over the place. And people in Brazil are very, if this is something you care about, but people in Brazil are very, very comfortable with their bodies. I mean, especially in Rio, like, everybody's just walking around half naked all the time. And me personally, I'm not somebody who is that particular about bodies. I've always been a face person, and definitely always been more of a person driven by if I like the person's character and their personality versus, you know, a six-pack or big muscles. But I have to admit, especially in Rio, also in the other cities, but especially in Rio, there was a lot of people, both men and women, with very, very aesthetically pleasing body shapes. I mean, I was walking around in Copacabana. I actually would say that, you know, in most places in the world where I've traveled, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm like an 8. I'm like an 8 out of 10. You know, there's been a couple of countries where I'm even like, yeah, in this country, maybe I'm even like a 9. But Brazil, especially Rio, maybe other cities in Brazil not as badly, but in Rio, I was walking around, I'm like, oh my God, I'm too ugly to live. Like, I feel like people are going to, you know, sue me for having to look at my ugly ass face, you know? I mean, like, there's just a ridiculous amount of physically perfect human beings. Like, just the bodies, like, I saw bodies, but again, both men and women, where I was just like, do you ever eat? Like, do you do anything outside of walking around and running and exercising at the gym half naked? Because you would have to with the kind of body you have. So if you're somebody who is very picky about meeting people with attractive bodies, and or you just very much appreciate watching people who have beautiful bodies, I definitely highly recommend Rio to you. Yeah. Is there anything else in terms of gay travel destination? I mean, like, I don't need to break down to you guys. A lot of people obviously meet with apps. Brazil is definitely another country that has a nightlife culture. So, you know, bars and cafes all around. I would even say in Rio and in Sao Paulo, you don't even necessarily have to go to specific gay clubs or gay bars, because there's just gay people everywhere. And you can just literally meet them everywhere, in the metro, anywhere. There's everywhere. So yeah, 2 thumbs up. Definitely gay travel destination. It's beautiful, beautiful people, very friendly. Yeah. So I guess that's really all I have to say for part 1. Part 2. What do I like? What do I not like? What do I super recommend? Let's do what I love. I mean, like, honestly, I have to tell you guys, it's been a long time since I've been to a country where I literally almost loved everything in its entirety. There's not very many countries. There's, like, I've been to a lot of countries at this point. For those of you guys who follow my channel, you already know this. And most countries, I would say, are kind of like in that center area where it's like, these are the 3 things I've liked and these are the 3 things I didn't like. 5 out of 10 stars, right? I would say that's the vast majority of places. Like, there's some things I really liked, some things I didn't really like. And then there's been like, I can only think of like 2 countries, I've said this several times already, where I just really, really didn't like hardly anything, and that's China and Egypt. I just don't recommend those places. I didn't like them at all. I found them horrible. And then there's been a couple of places also where I was really just like, wow. You know, like the first thing that comes to my mind is like Iran. Like Iran, I can't think of anything in Iran that I didn't love. I just thought it was the most beautiful country. I loved the food. I loved the people. I loved all the history. I loved everything about it. And now I would say Brazil is one of those places too. So I mean, recommend. For me, of course, the highlight was probably again going to the Amazon. I've been to the Amazon from Ecuador and in Peru, and I personally can't get enough from going to the Amazon. I just think it's, when it comes to nature, so ridiculously beautiful. It's just something, every time I go, I'm wowed. And this time when I went, there was like the 3rd day I went to this place, it was like caves, and inside the caves there was these waterfalls and like a little lake, I guess you could call it, and we could go swimming, and oh God, that was so ridiculously beautiful. So I definitely, if you have time to come to Brazil, definitely recommend going to the Amazon. Of course, like I said, Rio, love Rio, love Sao Paulo, loved Foz do Iguazu. Food is amazing, especially I like, I'm gonna say it wrong, calabresa in Brazil. And also they have this like, I don't know, like little breadcrumbs. It's not bread though, it's made from like cassava root or tapioca root, florora or something. I'm not good with the names of the food, but that also, it's super delicious. I mean, you're gonna find amazing food. The people are very friendly and smiling and happy and willing to like show you places. I don't know. I actually have to say, I'm really pleasantly surprised at how much I love Brazil, because I don't know if I ever mentioned it on my channel, excuse me, that I was actually very hesitant to come to Brazil for a very long time. And I actually anticipated not really liking it. For one, I think it's one of those places that's very overhyped. And in my experience is, when places are very overhyped, then when I finally get the chance to actually go and see them, I'm kind of like, you know, now you guys put it here, and it's kind of here, which makes it seem like it's down here, right? So, but no, Brazil, amazing. For the day-to-day traveler, and especially the gay traveler, I would of course say, if you have limited time and limited finances, then definitely I would say Rio would probably be the place I would recommend the most. It's incredibly beautiful, especially because it's surrounded by all those like little mountains and forests, and like just the location of it is just gorgeous. Really approve, love, enjoyed. Yes. In things I didn't like. So normally when I say things I didn't like in videos, I like really have very good examples where I'm kind of like, this is some kind of tourist attraction, but I went and looked at it and it was crap, and and I don't recommend it or whatever. I don't really have any really strong dislikes for Brazil. So I can tell you guys the things I think didn't live up to how much I loved everything else in Brazil. So I would say Manaus, the city that most people travel to, and from there do like the Amazon expeditions and stuff. The Manaus itself is nothing special. I don't know, it's not like, oh my god, it's the ugliest city ever. That would be Lima, Peru. Sorry Peruvians, but Lima is just, no. I would also say Brasilia is not a place I would tell people they would have to go. So me personally, I have this rule when I travel that I don't count a country as having been fully visited unless I see the capital. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil. It was built in a very specific way. It was completely engineered to be the capital. And I personally just don't find it beautiful at all. It actually really reminds me of like Soviet Union style building, where this is these building blocks with like no personality. Like I kind of find it soul sucking. But again, I think most people aren't going to come here, so is it a negative? I don't know. I don't think most people who are going as tourists to Brazil are going to be like, I really need to check out Brasilia, right? So I think it's kind of a moot point. Yeah. Actually, I would say so here are the only two real negatives I have for Brazil. Oh, I just bit my tongue, sorry. Because I actually have to say, in terms of just how beautiful it is and all the things there are to see and activities and architecture and nature and all this kind of stuff, I actually have to say Rio and Sao Paulo would be very good competitors for Buenos Aires. So Buenos Aires, up to coming to Brazil, was literally the only place in South America I've gone to where I was like, wow, like I love this place. I love it. There's other places, city-wise, there's been a lot of beautiful nature locations, but cities in South America are generally not pretty, in my opinion. Okay, sorry, I got cut off. So I was saying that cities in South America are in general not that pretty to me. And so when I first saw Buenos Aires, I was just like, oh my God, Buenos Aires is so beautiful. And Buenos Aires is really, really beautiful. I think it's like, if I could find a job in Buenos Aires that paid enough to actually live semi-comfortably and would be willing to hire me legally, I could actually see myself moving to Buenos Aires on a permanent basis. I really fell in love with it. And as I said, I think Rio and Sao Paulo both could be competitors to Buenos Aires, except that, like I said, there's two things that I do really, really not like in Brazil. One of them is kind of like, I think for most people is going to be very like, man, whatever, depending on... So the number one thing is I have to say, this is going to be so petty for a lot of people, but there's so many mosquitoes in Brazil. I know for a lot of people that's not a big issue. I don't know why. I am somebody who really, really seems to attract mosquitoes. They just seem to love me. I get bit a lot. I get bit every day, and especially in Rio, I got bit at least 4 times every day. And it didn't matter if I put on creams or any kind of repellent, I would still get bit all the time. I also react very strongly to mosquito bites. You know, some people don't, but to me, like, they literally become these huge, swollen. They take like 2 to 3 weeks to heal. So I just very much, I'm like not a fan of, and especially in Rio and Ilha Grande. And Ilha Grande was so amazing. It was so, oh my God, Ilha Grande is like a piece of heaven. And, but even there, it was just like, I was getting bit all the time, and it just kind of, so I think that's something that a lot of people are going to be like, you know, if you don't react strongly to mosquitoes, or maybe you're somebody who's lucky and doesn't really get bit a lot, you probably don't even care about that. The other thing that I would say is making it so that Rio and Sao Paulo would never really fully be able to compete with Buenos Aires for me, is due to the fact that I never really felt 100% safe in Brazil. So I talked with some Brazilians, and some Brazilians agreed with me, and they're like, yes, it's very dangerous here. You have to be very careful with your belongings. You know, you have to be very careful with your money, etc., etc. I met other Brazilians who said, you know, they don't think it's any different from any other major cities in the world. my thing is, because I had a lot of people, because I told like people, I was like, yeah, I live in Ecuador, and they're like, oh my god, Ecuador is way more dangerous than Brazil. And then when I went to Paraguay, they were like, oh my god, Paraguay is way more dangerous than Brazil. And I told them I went to Venezuela, and they were like, Venezuela is way more dangerous than Brazil, right? And I was like, I felt way safer in all of those, including Venezuela. Felt way safer in Venezuela than I did Brazil. And I think maybe for me personally, the reason I feel much more unsafe in Brazil is it's the only country where I actually personally know people who have been robbed. I know 2 people personally that were kidnapped and held for ransom in Brazil. I know 2 people as well that had a gun held to their head and told to empty their ATM account. I know several people, even the person I'm staying with here, who is a friend of my friend Enrica, who I was in Peru with. He literally, a week before I came here, he told me that he got robbed. So that makes me, it just becomes more real, right? If in places like Venezuela, yeah, I'm on the news and people are always like, you have to be careful, it's very dangerous. But I don't know anybody who ever had any problems in Venezuela. And then I went to Venezuela and I had no problems whatsoever. There was no issue whatsoever for me. Same with Ecuador. Yeah, people would be like, oh, this isn't safe, or you shouldn't go out by yourself at night. I went out by myself at night all the time. I went wherever I wanted and I never had any issues. I never met anybody who had any issues in Ecuador. So it just didn't feel as real to me. Or here in Brazil, the chance of something bad happening just feels very real to me. And especially in Rio, as beautiful as I thought it was, as amazing as I think it is, I never was able to fully relax and fully enjoy the moment in Rio, because I was constantly feeling like I had to look and look, somebody here, somebody behind me, is somebody trying to grab my phone, you know, all the pictures and videos I took, I was really paranoid someone was gonna rip my phone out of the hand, because that's something that happens a lot in Brazil and especially in Rio. And that's just something I personally don't enjoy at all. As beautiful as Brazil is, for me, that is something where I don't see myself ever coming to Brazil again, because there's a lot of other parts of the world that are also very, very beautiful, and I don't have that feeling of any minute now someone's gonna rob me, you know, that, which I just find a really, like I said, I personally just never could fully relax in this country, and I just think that's a real shame. Oh, and actually, or something in Sao Paulo also in Rio, actually in every city in Brazil, but in Sao Paulo I really noticed it. I don't recall, even in a place like Afghanistan or like Iraq, I cannot recall seeing that many homeless people. Sao Paulo, just even in quote unquote the good neighborhoods, there is just homeless people everywhere. Entire parks have just been converted to like tent cities. The main shopping street, Paulista, just homeless tents and homeless people everywhere, everywhere. And again, I don't want to get into the political and economic issues but in terms of being a tourist, it's just something that always made me feel on edge, right? Because I didn't want a homeless person to like grab my bag or grab my phone or anything like that. And it just, that is, I don't really have any real, this is a place in Brazil that I didn't think is pretty, or this is a place in Brazil that I think is not worth visiting. Overall, I just thought Brazil was very beautiful, but that is something that really, for me, I just was very cognizant of it and just made it kind of where I'm just like, I would definitely still prefer Argentina and Buenos Aires, just because in Buenos Aires I didn't feel unsafe and I was able to relax more and stuff. And there's less mosquitoes. Let's see. Is there anything else really worth pointing out? Yeah, I don't know. But like, I definitely, if you're somebody who's not bothered by that, or I definitely think you're going to love Brazil. There's everything under the moon you can do here. You can see here. The nature is amazing. So much beautiful nature. People are very friendly and inviting. It's relatively cheap by Western standards, especially food, or Uber is very, very cheap to get around. Very interesting museums, history, culture. You know, there's everything under the moon. This is maybe something that gay people would like. Actually, I forgot to mention this in the gay part. There's also just every type of gay man you could personally be interested in. They're gonna have it here. They have twinks. They have muscle queens. They have so many muscle queens, especially in Rio. I was walking around, I was just like, so many muscle queens. Now you guys know I'm not into muscle queens at all. That's, for me, not an aesthetic I find attractive. But if that is something you like, you will love Rio. I mean, just like these hulking, like just muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle type of guys. A lot of bears, that's definitely more my thing. And then of course, in every shade you can possibly think of, because Brazil is so intermingled, you know, so you have like super pale people like myself, all the way up to like black people, and every shade in between, indigenous looking people, mixed people, like everything. There's a lot of Asians. There's also like a big community of like, I think, Lebanese people in Brazil. So everything you could possibly want in terms of what your physical attraction is for men, you're going to find it. Nerds, emos, everything. So even in that sense, I think it's a place where everybody can kind of find the top, no, what's this? The lid to their pot? Is that a saying? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I love it. I love Brazil. If only it was safer. If it was safer, I would actually be like, Brazil might also be a place I could see myself maybe living for a year or two, but the safety issues, too much for me. Especially, oh, I forgot. Yeah, Amazon, Rio, Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo. I really like Sao Paulo, but actually as a tourist, you could probably skip it. For a tourist, if you're a tourist, I would say these are the three things I would recommend the most. And Amazon, go to the Amazon, go to Rio, and go to Ilha Grande. Like, those are the three things I think as a normal tourist, you're going to enjoy the most. But overall, big thumbs up. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Brazil, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So amazing. Yeah, this is definitely, this is the way I imagine South America to be, right? For those of you guys who follow my channel, you saw when I was living in Ecuador, my first year in South America, I was just like, what the hell? I was totally sold a lie, right? Because anytime you see documentaries or movies, you know, you just see beautiful beaches and tan bodies. By the way, people really are still into tanning here, which I thought was really weird. Like, everybody's walking around and tanning, and I'm like, you're gonna regret that in 15 years. But yeah, like, I just thought like everybody was gonna be tan and everybody was gonna be walking around half naked and the weather was gonna be amazing and beaches everywhere. Like, that is kind of the image I had of what South America would be. You know, and then of course moving into Quito, which is in the Andes, and it was gray and rainy and cold all the time. And then I went to Bogota, and it was cold and rainy and gray all the time. And then Peru, gray and rainy and cold, you know. And I just kind of was like, I was fed a lie. South America is so not this. And then, you know, now in Brazil, it's just like, I think all these documentaries just maybe are always taking place in Brazil. Because yeah, in Brazil, everybody's tan, everybody's half naked all the time. And people are very, oh, that's the other thing I was gonna say in the gay part. I also find people are very, okay, so, trigger warning to people. This is just my personal opinion, okay? calm down. You can have a different opinion. You guys can all have your own personal point of view when it comes to things like this. So I can definitely 100% see why Brazilians have the reputation they do in terms of, you know, being like the most beautiful people in the world, etc., etc. Like I said, there is a lot of very ridiculously attractive people in Brazil, especially in Rio. Having said that, I, for the most part, I personally could not see myself with a Brazilian, because, again, just me, nobody else, just my personal preference in terms of men, and I don't like people who are so overtly sexual. Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. So like I said, people here are very like always walking around half naked. Most of these people, they know that they're beautiful. They do, they know it, right? And I don't think there's any shame in being proud of something you've worked very hard for. And you know, these men and women, they've worked very hard to have these beautiful bodies. So, you know, I'm not willing to do that. I'm too lazy and I love food too much. So it's like, yeah, you know, it's okay for you to be proud of it. But the overtly, you know, everybody's very flirtatious. Everybody is really like putting their body out there, and you know, everywhere you go, they like smile and wink and that is just something I personally don't. I mean, it's weird to say that that a lot of people are acting in sexy ways, and me finding it unsexy. I just don't really like people being very overtly sexual in terms of how they dress, how they act, and that is something that is definitely very prevalent in Brazil, you know. Even in Rio, if you weren't even somewhere near the beach, you could be in the downtown area, and you're gonna see men without their shirt on, you know, at a cafe, just kind of like, or even, I don't know, standing outside of a federal building and like talking and flirting with people. It's just not my thing. I think I prefer people who are a little bit more modest in, you know, in their flirting, in their clothing. Like, to me, that's just personally more sexy. And I think makes it a little bit more special. Maybe in that I'm just more old-fashioned in that sense. But yeah, I think as a foreigner, I would say I think Brazilians are incredibly flirtatious and aggressive and sexual beings, people. Which, yeah, if you're coming here and you're single and you're, you know, just looking to have fun as a gay man, I think that's something you're going to really appreciate, and you're going to find it very easy to find people to hook up with and experience the rainbow of sexual activities that you could probably do. But it's just not my thing. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah. Okay. So that is it. No part 3, as really nothing happened here. I actually have to say, I personally felt really ugly and frumpy for the most part in Brazil. I'm just kind of like, oh my god, everybody here is so gorgeous. Like, I should literally be wearing a freaking burqa. Like, I'm too ugly to leave the apartment. I also would say that there's countries where I've definitely felt like I was getting a lot of attention, and maybe I was somebody that was considered a catch. In Brazil, I, for the most part, felt completely invisible. I don't know. Maybe people here are more into the tan and dark features, and of course, you know, perfect body, because so many people have perfect bodies. So why would they look at somebody like me? So yeah, no part 3 in this review. And yeah, as always, at the very end, I'm just gonna put up all the videos that I took throughout my time here for those of you guys who are interested in that. All right, comments, feedback. Have you been to Brazil? If yes, did you feel the same? Did you feel different? Are you coming to Brazil and have any additional questions? Are you Brazilian and you agree with what I'm saying or you don't agree? You know, leave it in the comments. Take care, be safe, and yeah, that's it. Bye.
13, pra gente conseguir saber onde que tá, que sigilo é esse de 100 anos que ele tenta esconder. 13, pra acabar com o orçamento secreto. O orçamento secreto tem tirado bilhões do...
Was that he gave this to the city hall. So nowadays it is a public museum, totally for free to visit. Temporary art exhibitions inside. All streets from the Catholic Church decided to enter almost 50 kilometers away from the ocean, away from the to found a new village. Why?
So, und jetzt nochmal Copacabana in der Nacht. Schön sauber und viel ruhiger, als ich es mir gedacht habe. When the sun goes, when the clouds go, this is where you'll see Jesus.
Very eclectic artist. Here he decided to honor the Brazilian black and native but here with a small touch of pop art, and it's very interesting. You will see some other graffitis and murals made by any. And here, as I told you, we are going to battle.
13, pra gente conseguir saber onde que tá, que sigilo é esse de 100 anos que ele tenta esconder. 13, pra acabar com o orçamento secreto. O orçamento secreto tem tirado bilhões do...
Was that he gave this to the city hall. So nowadays it is a public museum, totally for free to visit. Temporary art exhibitions inside. All streets from the Catholic Church decided to enter almost 50 kilometers away from the ocean, away from the to found a new village. Why? Very eclectic artist. Here he decided to honor the Brazilian black and native but here with a small touch of pop art, We are going to bed.
Da ist er. Seht ihr ihn? Kommt er gleich nochmal? Alright, you guys, here is the world famous Copacabana. For some reason I thought you would see Christ the Redeemer from here. Looks nice and clean. So, und jetzt nochmal Copacabana in der Nacht. Schön sauber und viel ruhiger, als ich es mir gedacht habe. When the sun goes, when the clouds go, this is where you'll see Jesus.
A gente tá na foto, irmão?
Fala, galera.
Okay, the picture is coming out. I'm going to...
Hey you guys, welcome to Iguazu Falls. We're about to go down here. You guys see it? Alright, if I got this right, this is Argentina. So on that side of the river, this is of course Brazil, and over here is Paraguay.
No pasa nada, pues le sacamos la arena.
Tá de sacanagem? Ele tem que levar o cilindro no barco. Dá pra tu falar onde ele foi?
This is such a cute little town. I'm really glad that I end up coming here. Alright, can you guys see the little hidden beach right here? Probably not. Well, that's a beach. That's where we're going. Wow. Crazy. Alright, another hidden beach to cross. Alright, we made it. Lopez Beach. Ooh, I can't wait to get into those waves. Yes! And I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, damn, I wish I was there to see this guy getting all naked like. Wow. Hello you guys. So Brazil gay travel destination? Absolutely. Alright, hey you guys. So Brazil gay travel destination? Oh yes. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Alright, it's finally starting to feel like South America. Copacabana on a nice weekend day. It's different from here.
Find it? It's gonna jump now.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Let's eat it.
What?
Yeah. In Thailand, you eat them.
But don't forget, you need to clean it very well because you eat one hair, you die. You enjoy?
Yeah.
This is the local good life, you know?
It's a tough life.
It's different. You know here have two different types of
They weren't captive. They could come and go as they chose.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit about how I feel about this in terms of ethical.
Hey, you got one.
I caught a piranha.
Come on.
First one in the group. Even though I almost took 3 people's eyes out to do it. I was gonna ask, in here they don't eat chantacuru? In Ecuador and in Peru they eat.
as duas fotos da viagem.
10 days in a hammock. Oof, 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 oof.
And they have toiletries, they have mineral water. The Amazon Riverside has many mosquitoes.
So here is where the Amazon and the Negro River meet to make a huge super river. And the name of the village?
Catalão. Catalão Floating Village.
Catalan Floating Village.
Take everything.
Okay, I put
No, here, like this is okay. It's really amazing. Nobody likes this one.
Oh, wow.
Cioè, un altro paesaggio, non sembra vacanza.
Last day in Rio. I'm just having no luck. I haven't had any luck with Christou. If the clouds weren't in the way, you would see him right here. Every day when I have time to go, he is hidden behind clouds. Also the day I went up there, it was very foggy. But, yeah.
I have a piece of polo here in Brazil. How odd is that? I met a Polish girl in Fiji.
But like
There.
Fiji, oh,
Yes.
how was that? That's one of the few
was
places.
amazing.
That's one of the few places I still really want to go.
Yeah, Polynesia is amazing.
I actually like this kind of weather. I mean, as long as it doesn't actually rain. Whoa!
A common pyramid because the base of it is not a square. It's a seven-side.